Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. It depends on where you are connected from. I'm Michele Tomea from Thai Italian Chamber of Commerce, located in Bangkok. Today we have an absolutely interesting webinar about aerospace and space economy. And we have a distinguished speaker from Bangkok. Just a quick word about Dr. Natthawat. Today I have the honor and pleasure to welcome with us Dr. Natthawat Hongkarnjanakul, Head of Space Innovation and Collaboration in the Connectivity Space Renovation Park and Geo-Informatics and Space Technology Development Agency, also known as GISTDA. Dr. Natthawat has an education in aerospace engineering since he was very young, starting from Makkasan University, and then in France at Supero in aerospace mechanics and avionics, and later on even a PhD in aerospace engineering, also at Supero, France. Starting from 2013 up to now, so from the very beginning of his career up to a senior level, in 2020 reached the position of the Head of Space Innovation and Assistant Director of the Space Renovation Park. Dr. Natthawat, thank you a lot for being with us. It's an honor to have this webinar with you. Especially, I think it's a good timing because we saw that very recently from Richard Branson and also Jeff Bezos are touching the space physically. So I think it's a very good timing to welcome you with us. And also for all participants, just a quick information. After the presentation of Dr. Natthawat, I will moderate the Q&A session. So feel free to drop your question in the chat. I will try to help everyone to address Dr. Natthawat. With no much further ado, I would like to invite to our virtual stage Dr. Natthawat and his presentation. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Michele. Good afternoon, everyone from Thailand, and good morning, some of you from Italy or from Europe side. Once again, I'm Natthawat Hongkarnjanakul from GISTDA. Excuse me, I would like to share my screen, please. So today I would like to present a topic of new space economy, new aspect of opportunity and investment in Thailand. Yeah. So like Michele mentioned, I'm graduate PhD from France in aerospace engineering, and I do now the job in GISTDA, which is the government agency related to space activity in Thailand. First of all, I would like to mention about the traditional space and new space. What are the different? Why my title, I put new space economy, was important. This is what I would like to highlight at the beginning. If you see the history of United States of America, they have the space exploration or even some launch activity. Some of the satellite business, like we use the GPS, that mostly beginning in the defense and very high technology. So that activity and business related to the government agency. And some kind, we might think about the political point of view. For example, the space exploration on that time, about 50 years ago, is the competition between Russia and the United States of America. You can see that the space on that time is more on the competition between the countries as well. But for us, we also have the benefit from space. For example, we can see the sport like Olympic or the World Cup from other side of the world. For example, I show here the TV broadcasting. That is the benefit of the space technology. But even we have the TV broadcasting, but the company in each country, they might have the license from the government. That means normally it is the government who own the right for space activity. This is the very old one. I would say that this is the traditional space or old space. What about new space? Recently, we have heard a lot on the space activity, like the picture I show here. Elon Musk, they have their business like SpaceX, or even the richest guy in the world, Jeff Bezos, they have their own company in space. That means everyone now target to space technology and space business because they know that there's a lot of opportunity in this area. And what leads to us, imagine that nowadays, especially during COVID time, we use a lot of the food delivery, and behind them we have the location-based service, or some of you might get used to like Google Maps. Imagine that now the business like Grab Food, Lineman, Food Panda in Thailand, it might not be happen at all if we don't have the benefit from space. What they use the location from space. It means that every time, every single second, they connect to the satellite to position themselves. Like today, we know that, okay, the rider of the food is coming to us in few minutes, in 5 minutes. That the benefit from space. I would say that today, new space means the thing that related to everyone is the private sector. We can use the space technology. Yeah, this is what I define at the beginning. And what comes to Thailand, if we define the traditional space to new space, on your left hand side here on the gray one, the traditional space means the activity like military activity, the science space, or the space exploration. But the thing that related to commercial, like I mentioned, the communication satellite or the TV broadcasting, this is the traditional space. New space, the huge area and the new opportunity for us today, I can distinguish into two areas. The first one is the consumer market, and the second one is niche market. The first one, what can be the consumer market? For example, we use the Geo-Informatics data, we use the navigation and positioning application, like I mentioned for the Grab Food or the food delivery just now. This is all the consumer market that we use the data from space to make our own application on top of the space. It means that space technology is behind those activities, when we mostly use the data from that. And what about niche market, the second one? The niche market in the industry, for example, the satellite manufacturing or the ground station receiving and transmission of the satellite data. These are the satellite, the space industry in Thailand today that we have some market. And also we can think about the research that related to space, for example, space debris, asteroid, or space weather. That is the activity that already existed in Thailand. And not only that, we can also think about the new opportunity that I will present at the last slide about the new thing that we can explore in Thailand. For example, the space tourism or the new launch system or spaceport. I will explain in the recent the latest slide from now. Yeah. Okay, this is about the traditional space to new space economy. Yeah, please, Michele. So next, what can be the traditional space in Thailand? Just now we see the overall picture of the trend and for all over the world, and I try to scope down to Thailand. In Thailand, if we see the traditional space and the first business that we mostly thinking about is the telecommunication business. Thailand have our first satellite called TICCC was launched in 1991, so it's quite a long time ago, and that is the mostly on the TV broadcasting business. And today TICCC they have about 8 satellites, and now it's about 3 or 4 satellites still in the orbit and still operated until today. And as you can see, as I mentioned, traditional space, TICCC did have the license from the government, and they leased the long-term contract with the Thai government. Okay, that is the thing that still related to government today. Another section is the Earth observation. The organization that involved a lot in this is GISTDA, or my organization that I work today. GISTDA was established in 2000, and we have many activities. For example, for the flood, for the weather forecast, for disaster, forest, etc. I would say that in fact, Earth observation or space activity is not new for Thailand. We start activity from 1971 that Thailand has a satellite resource survey project by joining the project with NASA. So you can see that the space starting during that time, but before we own our satellite, we usually have the satellite data. For example, it means that we can have the satellite data from other country, but we have licensing to receiving the data, and then we interpret and make the solution from satellite data. This is the Earth observation, and of course, to receive those data, we need to have the satellite ground segment or ground station on that. And Thailand or GISTDA, we did have the ground station for many decades or many years already on that. And also the regulator on space activity is NBTC, or National Broadcasting and Telecommunication Commission, or NBTC. They govern the regulation related to satellite and frequency allocation on that. So that means all those activities that we communicate with satellite, we need to link with the NBTC, who is the regulator. And even until today, we still need NBTC on the project. Yeah. And what can we think about the new space activity, the new area that we can explore the opportunity? In new space, I would like to define in two schemes, upstream and downstream first. Please see the graph here that both upstream and downstream they have a lot of value, but if we distinguish, we can see that the value from downstream is much bigger than upstream space. And what can be upstream and downstream? Upstream, for example, spacecraft manufacturing, satellite payload manufacturing, space transportation, ground segment, or even research and consultancy. This is the upstream. And downstream, for example, Earth observation that I mentioned earlier, navigation, communication, defense, or broadcasting. These are the mostly we use the data from space to make the application on top of the core space technology. So again, upstream is like core space technology that we normally thinking about space, like satellite or launcher, rocket. But downstream, that may be other activity, can be the agriculture, can be the autonomous vehicle that use the data from space. Okay, this is I would like to define upstream and downstream space. And then in Thailand, I will show you some activity that exists today for the upstream, ground segment, and satellite manufacturing. And also downstream, I will mention later on the Earth observation and navigation business. Okay, the first one for upstream, satellite manufacturing. Today in GISTDA, Sriracha, Chonburi, we have fully facility for satellite assembly, integration, and testing. So that means is well equipped with the test equipment for the satellite, and that can support the satellite manufacturing and testing, both our internal project, and also we can service to other business and other customer on the satellite manufacturing. Second one, we have the workforce that will educate and will train for the satellite manufacturing. GISTDA itself, we have more than 20 engineers that hands-on and have the activity on the satellite manufacturing. And I think the first batch of this workforce can be spread and can make sure that Thailand we have the capability on the satellite manufacturing. In terms of technical point of view, from that workforce, we have the skill of the technical, both in testing in each area, for example, the mechanical, the telecommunication, energy of the satellite, and this also link to the education or the research institute for the satellite manufacturing, and we will have support from the university who have the strong background in the satellite engineering. And lastly, for the satellite manufacturing, we have the standard, especially the standard in aerospace like AS 9100, or the testing standard like ISO 17025, which is the standard for test facility. And this can show that in Thailand, and especially in GISTDA, we are capable to have the activity for satellite manufacturing. So a part of that, we have the program called Satellite in-Country Manufacturing. We built the manufacturer in Thailand to make sure that we have not only the technical, but we can build the supply chain of satellite manufacturing cluster in Thailand. And today I would say that we have about almost 20 companies that involved in the satellite project, which is led by GISTDA at the beginning. And from this, we can see both supply and demand for the satellite manufacturing. The first, I would say that we start from demand. The first one is GISTDA in-house, the satellite project, that we still need the satellite manufacturing in it. And also Royal Thai Air Force or defense activity, they also need some satellite. And even the police or justice department, they do need some satellite as the asset, and they will exploit the data for satellite. To supply on that, you might thinking about the GISTDA itself or test facility or Airbus. They can be the supply on that, or some startup company like New Space Corp. They can be the supply to build the supply of the satellite manufacturing in this activity. Secondly, for upstream, if you might see some news that Sweden, they have invested the ground station in Sriracha, because actually when we think about the space segment, sometimes we think about the thing in the space, but of course we need some of the equipment to communicate or talk with the satellite, which is the ground station. And Swedish Space Corporation, they did the investment in Thailand, and I would say that this is the first investment in upstream or in core space technology in Thailand. Why they have invest in Thailand? Because in fact, Thailand and GISTDA, we quite well knowledge in the ground segment development. We have our own software development. We have own ground station development. I would say that is the full cycle, starting from the communication of the satellite, mission planning, or even we used to build the antenna ditch and antenna system like this one as well. So I would say that if you are looking for the business for ground segment or looking for the location to establish the ground segment in Thailand, GISTDA or Thailand, we are the good location on that. Current demand today is like in Japan, France, or US, China, South Korea. They are looking for the location or the place to build their own antenna or their receiving station in Thailand. But who can supply on that demand? Of course, GISTDA, we quite strong on this business. We can support on that. And like SSC that I mentioned here, as they establish the ground station, they can support the satellite data on that. I would give you some example. For example, France, they have their own satellite, but they would like to communicate their own satellite when the satellite part go past the Asian area or Thai area. So they need the ground station in each country. So this case, they can contact to the local company like GISTDA or SSC, or even the NT or National Telecom. Yeah. So this you can see that I try to match both demand and supply that can build the ground segment in this business. Apart from that, we launched the first directory in space here. You can scan the QR code here, and you might see the company that capable to build some space activity in Thailand, both the satellite manufacturer or even the ground segment or developer. From now on, we thinking about to build the directory like this one every year from now on. But you can see from our starting point here. In downstream, the first one for downstream is Earth observation. For example, the agriculture, like crop management, the forest, the air quality or flood. Those applications, we use the satellite imagery for interpretation and do the solution and analysis from the satellite data. Yeah. Beyond that, GISTDA itself, we have the project. We said that the image from satellite would beneficial for everyone, especially for the policy maker. So we run the project called AIP, Actionable Intelligence Policy. What does it mean? It means that from satellite data, we should have the integrated solution together, both urban planning, national resources, agriculture, disaster or water management. Those solutions we integrated to be one, and we built the one system that have the intelligence platform. And from that, we should have the thing that make as a tool to help us to make the decision for the policy maker. For example, I give you some example. EEC, they would like to make the urban planning, but for urban planning, they have to think about many aspects. For example, aspect of the people, agriculture, or disaster on the area. So this one, we should have the integrated idea or the thing that have the total solution on that. And AIP, we aim for that and should have the solution for especially government agency. Yeah. So we're starting from the problem identification, policy making, and then the policy intervention, and especially like I mentioned for the government. Next one for downstream is the navigation and positioning. When we think about the positioning, as I mentioned, for Grab Food, Google Map, we use the navigation and positioning. And to make sure that we have the right positioning and have the precision, Thailand, we invest the core station data center. That means we have located more than 200 stations all over Thailand. And these two will make sure that you will have the precise location on your application or on your device. And for this, we can expand the downstream business. For example, to I split into 3 schemes: land, sea, and air. Land, for example, you have the precision agriculture. You might have the autonomous driving vehicle or logistic on that. Sea, you might have the fishery or the tracking of your maritime service. This is the benefit from the navigation satellite. And airspace, from now on, we will track the aircraft by using the data from the satellite and the navigation itself of the navigation satellite. So this is the benefit for navigation and positioning. And for GISTDA, we think that this business will have a big growth in the future, and I think there are a lot of opportunity for the navigation and positioning on it. Next one, just now I just mentioned the business that already exist in Thailand and have some activity that you can instant plug to the business in Thailand. But if we think about the thing that is not very well exist in Thailand and can be the new opportunity in Thailand, I can distinguish into 4 areas. The first one is the spaceport. The second one is the mission to the moon. The third one, space situational awareness or SSA. And the last one is space science. Those of things are the thing that very new to Thailand, but we have some plan to build or to develop on those projects. I will explain you one by one. The first one is spaceport. Why Thai government we aim for the spaceport project? The main advantage is geolocation advantage of Thailand. I would say that Thailand is the top 7 of the best launch site because we are very close to the equatorial line, and that might save the energy when we have the launch activity. And also for the azimuth limitation in Thailand, we have very less comparing to in Europe. You can see that on your left hand side, you see some other country, or your right side, you might connect to other country. But in Thailand, you see that both sides from left and right is the sea, is the ocean. So you see that when some part of rocket that will drop into the ocean, this is quite good location in Thailand. And in Thailand, we have no hazard disaster. For example, tornado that might occur in the United States of America sometime. And in Thailand, we very easy to access and have the open airspace policy. So that's why Thailand is quite good opportunity if we have the spaceport or launch activity. What we have done so far for the spaceport, last year we have the pre-feasibility study, and in that pre-feasibility study that made by the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation, they said that the first flight test and trial for the launch vehicle should start in 2029, but the operation can be in 10 years, so in 2030. So this status, now we are in the status of feasibility study and find some partner that have the potential one to make sure that Thailand we have the capability to do the spaceport project. And the area that I show here, for example, in the east coast or either in west coast of Thailand can be the area that we can make the spaceport, or even in the Utapao airport can be the one like suborbital launch vehicle. If you see the launch vehicle of space tourism recently, they use the suborbital one. It's like the airplane one, and as we have the pre-feasibility study, Utapao airport is the huge airport that we can have such activity in the spaceport project. The next one, mission to the moon. If you heard some news, our ministry, Dr. Anek Lao Thamatat, he announced about the project that we will have the project to have the satellite that go to the orbit of the moon. And this is the long-term project called TICC, Thai Space Consortium, that combination between many organizations related to space activity. And in this one, we aim to go to the moon in next 7 years, and from that should be the very good background to the deep space exploration in the future. So that means the TSC project it is the research oriented project and aim to build the ecosystem of space in Thailand in the future. You can see from the timeline that go to the moon in 2027, and at the end we highlight to go to space exploration. And along on that, we will have the capability to build our workforce in Thailand, linked with research institute and university as well. The third one for the new business idea is on SSA. If you heard some news that today, United States of America, they have new force, they call Space Force. It's not only Navy, Air Force, Police, and Army. Now they have Space Force because we can imagine about the enemy or some of the activity that from space. So SSA called the space situational awareness, that we can see the thing from space that might harmful to our country, that might not good to country. So this activity we start already with the Royal Thai Air Force to make some prototyping on the SSA project. So if you have this kind of activity, I think it's also a good opportunity that you can explore and link with Thailand and GISTDA to initiate the project. Next one is the space experiment and space science. We did some experiments already. For example, the food in space, the plantation in space, or even the bacteria for the cancer treatment, and even the liquid crystal in the physics side. And this is the thing that we start already, but we need more and more the connection and investment from other countries, especially from the Western side. Like space science, for example, the space flight dynamic or space traffic management system or space debris asteroid mitigation. This is also the new thing that we can explore the activity in Thailand. For the space science, we also have some roadmap that you can imagine from that point. On right-hand side, you can see that for Earth space system, we have the benefit from space, like space debris, asteroid mitigation. We have the aim for factory in space or moon Mars habitat in space. This is also the roadmap that we aim until next 10 years that we should have this kind of activity. This is the white paper or roadmap from Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation that already approved. Lastly, I would say that the whole ecosystem, we have the driver from government. From space side, we have the space park in EEC area. It's called Space Renovation Park. Renovation here stands for knowledge, innovation, and knowledge, creativity, and innovation. Sorry, and the Space Renovation Park is located in EEC area, and that is inside EECD or Digital Park Thailand. That means the activity of space and digital is really close each other, and we will have the very well planned to build the Eastern Economic Corridor and space activity as a new flagship for Thailand. Okay. I think this is my brief presentation on the space activity and the opportunity in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Natthawat. And we have some questions for you also from the attendees in the chat. But just starting from one in the beginning in the chat, I believe that this question popped up when you were showing about the telenavigation from probably GPS. One of the attendees is asking, are these courses available for public use?
Yes, you mean the course session that also open for the public use. And now if you will come in this time, I think it's very good time because it's still in the trial phase. In fact, is the activity that mainly led by the Royal Thai Survey Department and Department of Land, and they own this project. And today, if you have access, maybe I contact you later, and I will give you the link and the contact to get access to that course station.
Okay, thank you very much. One other question was related about at the very beginning of your presentation, you were talking about the new space and old space. There is like a quick definition of the difference on how we can interpret this new and old space.
Yes, like I mentioned that the traditional space or old space is mainly on the government side, or the government lead the project from space. But today, new space means that it's open to everyone, open to the business, that everyone can access to the space activity. This is the new concept that I try to highlight the word of new space. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And there is also another contribution in the chat. So the next contribution is from Jason. Please, could you explain more about azimuth limitation? This is the first time I heard this term. Probably you were talking about azimuth limitation in ejecting into space a satellite or rockets, for example.
For the, I think that related to the spaceport.
Yes, because I think you were mentioning that Thailand is actually in a position on Earth near the equatorial space. And yes. You mentioned that would be benefit about the position in this space venture, and probably okay. This azimuth limitation was related to this.
Okay, so maybe it's not the right term for, sorry for my mistaking, but the thing that I would like to say that in Thailand, especially for the coast of Thailand, especially in the south, you can see that both west coast or east coast in Thailand, we both are the ocean or the sea. Yeah, that is the benefit when we have the rocket, the part of rocket that go to the sea. I think this one is the term that I would like to mention.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And one other information, but I think it's interesting. Let's say in the upcoming years, we understand that Thailand started actually probably in 1976 or 71 to venture into space with the first activities. And talking about the space sector in Thailand, how can we get involved in this business? Let's say as a foreigner working in Southeast Asia or Thailand, what are the opportunities for companies developing business in Thailand? What is your suggestion or point of view?
Okay. For business, for example, you are very new to Thailand. The first one, I think you might contact GISTDA, because now the agency to manage of the space activity is not exist in Thailand yet, but we are now in the process to establish the space agency in Thailand in few years. But today, GISTDA, we have the role to be the management team for the space activity. So in this case, you might contact to GISTDA, and then we will get involved in other partner or other sector. For example, if you would like to do investment with BOI, GISTDA also involved with BOI, and in fact, I would like to highlight something. Space activity in the category of BOI, we do have two categories. The first one is the space part, and the second one is the operation of the space. So today, BOI, they open two category for space activity, and of course you can contact through GISTDA for the first part. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And one other contribution for the about this topic. Do you have in Thailand, or do you plan to create some space on board electronics research and development activities? Would you need some space electronics specialist engineers to join your agency or partners?
Yes. I would answer on behalf of GISTDA. We have the research project in board electronic R&D activity we call flight software, and on that we have the research team to build our own spacecraft board, and this is on the research activity. And of course, for research, how can we implement to the real one? So as I mentioned, if you remember, I mentioned about satellite in-country manufacturing. Yeah. On that part, not only the mechanical part, we also built some company who built the electronic board, and finally I think we can build about 3 companies that have the capability to make the electronic part. And if you mention that the specialist in engineer join the agency or partner, of course we are very welcome on that, and we are aiming for that too. And frankly, it's quite difficult in terms of looking for the very high experienced people to come to Thailand.
Thank you very much, Dr. Natthawat.
Yes.
And also, like recently on the news, we saw that Jeff Bezos, the richest man on earth, actually for a few minutes dive into space with a private rocket made by his team. And also we saw that we're talking about Elon Musk, SpaceX. Also, we saw that there is a lot, many news related to SpaceX. And from your point of view, let's say in Thailand, in the upcoming 5 to 10 years, there will be also a trend related to this type of private venture activities for tourism or for any other purpose. You see this coming here?
Yeah, actually it's what I mentioned earlier, that the new activity in Thailand that we can think about is like a spaceport or the mission to the moon or the space situational awareness or space science. This is very new to Thailand, and I think this is the aim of Thailand, that I think we will have like the new S curve or new flagship for Thailand in the future that will match to the global trend. Yeah.
And thank you. Regarding to this, let's say talking about this as a new trend, and I connect myself to some of the questions that I see in the chat from Mr. Andrea. So we're talking about potential new trends for Thailand. At the moment, the GISTDA is working with some universities specifically to develop projects, engineering projects. And if which university are your target?
Okay, so frankly speaking, if we aim to engineering or space engineering in Thailand, is very rare. There are about 3 or 4 universities that have the curriculum for space. For example, GISTDA University or North University of Technology, North Bangkok, King Mongkut, North Bangkok. They also have the space curriculum. Yeah, and also some university like King Mongkut, Rajdhevee, they have some space activity, but that inside the electronic or electrical engineering. So there are not a lot of university in Thailand that have the space activity. But if we think about the downstream, okay, the downstream, for example, the data from space, the Geo-Informatics, the space application, etc. This is very variety, and I think it's not the special like space application curriculum. There's not that kind of curriculum in Thailand, but it can be plugged in many faculty or university all over Thailand. Yes. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. And skipping to another question, I will put 2 questions together. First of all, if there is any projects about the microsatellite domain, and connected to this, still from Mr. Andrea, satellite test equipment are a key factor, and are you interested into any cooperation with companies able and qualified by the main worldwide space agency to make satellite test equipment in-house?
Okay, you see my slide, right? This one. Can you see my slide?
You can share it. Okay, yes.
I share it. Yeah. So
okay.
For this one, the satellite on your bottom right is our satellite that is now in UK, Surrey Satellite Technology Limited, and those engineers, they experience in design and test those satellites, and this satellite will be shipped to Thailand end of this year to our brand new facility of satellite assembly, integration, and test in Sirasa. So that means the microsatellite activity will be no, actually it started already, and it will be full testing and launch next year. That means our first own Thai satellite, which is designed by Thai engineers, everything will be launched next year. Yeah.
Dr. Natthawat, so at the moment we saw in your presentation that you cooperate, GISTDA is cooperating with a team in UK. You mentioned also about, let's say, Sweden before.
Yes.
And regarding this, what is the best way to start a talk with GISTDA. Let's say you need to scrutinize a company to cooperate with when we're talking about foreign companies, or they can just contact you and you will ask if they comply to certain standardization. What is the best way to actually cooperate?
Okay, so I would say that GISTDA, we are government agency. The project like this one, the satellite manufacturing, is a huge project or mega project for GISTDA or even Thailand. And like this one, as a government agency, we have the open bid for anyone. So, but for this project, finally, is Airbus and SSTL from UK that they got the contract from the bidding. But beside that, I think to contact with GISTDA, we can aim and think about some future project at the beginning. Yeah, and starting talking with us, we build a project, and lastly, if the project happened and the government got the budget, we can enroll the project after this together. This is also the way to build up together. This is for the satellite project. But for Sweden, that example, because they see the potential in Thailand. But I would say that for Sweden case, we have activity like the backup station of ground station of GISTDA. We use the ground station of SSC Sweden at the beginning. So it's like communicating both way, and then we have long relationship together. And we aim for the company in Italy as well, that we would like to have this kind of activity. We can open to the new area and can build even the new business together. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Of course, as Italian Chamber of Commerce, it's part of our mission to put together Italian and Thai expertise to develop business and interesting project. Talking about cooperation with foreign companies, is there any benefit, for example, for a foreign companies or for a foreigner engineer starting research and development about space industry with GISTDA by coming to Thailand? For example, for a company, it could be like tax exemption or work permit facilitation. What is the benefit, let's say, for a foreign company coming to Thailand?
Okay, so this one, as I mentioned, is go through BOI, the Board of Investment in Thailand. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the space activity or space category now in BOI, we have 2 categories, and it is the highest one. If you get used to it, it's the A1, which is 8 years of the tax exemption in Thailand. This is the maximum one in Thailand already. But above that, because GISTDA itself be located in EEC, so you might have the extra like 50% tax holiday for 50% for I think 5 years more on that. So I would say that if you do the activity in for space in Thailand, this is the maximum of the privilege that Thai government can give you already. Yes. And in terms of tax, in terms of the people, I think the one-stop service now is in BOI. Yeah.
Yes, I confirm also while we cooperate with the Board of Investment of Thailand. So without maybe touching this topic that is too technical, but yes, I confirm that let's say high technology transfer is one of the targets to achieve a certain type of benefit while relocating to Thailand. and this one is absolutely useful. And okay, I think we are approaching the end of our webinar. It's almost an hour. I think we browsed several topics that are very interesting. And approaching the conclusion, Dr. Natthawat shared with us his private email that you can see in the chat. So in case if you need to also contact him, you can pass by Thai Italian Chamber of Commerce. You can contact us also. From the same email, you receive our invitation for today. And Dr. Natthawat, you want to give us like a conclusion of this webinar? You want to add something else?
Yes. So I would say that space is very new to Thailand, and especially to explore with international partner is very important to us. So I think Italy is one of our opportunity. I would say that space is opportunity for you, and I would say that Italy is an opportunity for us as well. So I would very welcome if you contact us, contact Thailand, and have investment or activity in Thailand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time today. It was an honor to host you today for this webinar. And for the participant, we are recording the webinar, and probably by next week we will upload it on the TICC YouTube channel. Please stay in touch with us for the upcoming webinars, and of course, if you need anything from GISTDA and Dr. Natthawat, we will facilitate the contact for you. Again, have a good afternoon or have a good day if you are in Europe. And Dr. Natthawat, thank you very much for your time and for insightful presentation about Thai space in the upcoming years, we say.
Thank you.